Christians have been practicing prayer for thousands of years, and it's been done by millions of individuals. And yet the prayers that are offered vary as widely as the individuals who give them. And so we here at Greater Chicago Church have prayer as a core value, but why? What is it and what does it mean? What does it mean to have prayer as one of these foundational building blocks for our community of faith? Many of us were raised in a pretty rigid religious system where we were told to go to church this many times, tithe this amount, make sure that we served on this team, read our Bible this many minutes a day, and make sure that we prayed. That was all good and fine, but we're not about a religion, we're about a relationship specifically with Christ. And so what does it take to build a relationship? It takes a foundational piece of communication. And how do we do that? Well, our best model for that is prayer. Prayer is this model that we go after when we say, you know what? I want to talk to God and God wants to talk to me. There is this thing that happens when you're in a relationship with someone. My wife and I have been together for over 2 decades. And during that time, we've realized that much of the communication that happens between us doesn't actually require words. Sometimes it just takes listening to the other person. So often in our prayers, we make them me-focused and we speak to God what we need. And yet, if we believe in a God that's alive and speaking to us, then why wouldn't we listen? Why wouldn't we sit around and hear the voice of God speaking back to us? I think this verse in 1 Thessalonians 5, as Paul is writing to the church and he says, hey, I need you to pray without ceasing. That ceasing word means continuously on your mind. The idea that there's constantly an awareness of God and a constant awareness of what God is doing in your life. That's prayer. It's listening to God's response to your day. It's being in community. It's speaking with God. Francis of Assisi says, preach the gospel at all times, and when necessary, use words. I'd like to tweak it a little and say, pray at all times, and when necessary, use words. It's prayer without ceasing. It's a foundational piece of a relationship. And it doesn't always require you to say anything.